Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the European Herpetoculture Podcast. Today, with a very interesting guest, Vito, from the project Technobreeding, which is an app that is supposed to help us with our animal care and also our breeding projects. So, what the project is about in detail, we will get to know in today's episode, and also we will get to know about you, Vito, as a wildlife appreciator and a guy of nature, I want to say. All right?
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me tonight. It's a pleasure being here. And I really love your project, guys. And yeah.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Vito, maybe you can give us a quick introduction, just 1 minute or something about like who you are, where you come from, and I don't know, what was your first like few steps into the hobby, and how did you decide to go to be serious about everything?
Okay, perfect. So I'm Vittorio Ferrero, like my complete name. I'm from Italy, from the north. I was born in Turin, and I'm still living here. I don't know. I started to love animals since the very beginning. My parents helped me a lot in that. Like uh, I don't know, helping me to discover the animal world, even if they are not like really into this sector.
Okay.
Uh, we give like small animals to manage, like goldfish, small birds, and so on. So I started like that, and then I discovered my passion in the wild things in general, like not just animals but also plants and everything. And like my real focus is like animal management and breeding. So while growing up, I discovered how it was cool to successfully breed exotic animals and hard species. So I like mainly focused on that in my with my collection, like private collection, mostly about reptiles and amphibians, and with experience abroad with conservation centers and things like that, like about research and so on. Especially in the last years, while I focused on the university with my master in ethology after my bachelor in natural science.
All right. So there was a whole lot of information flow. Did you get everything?
No, I think should dive deep into this, but it's that's a very cool curve that you can show to people, right? So what
Pretty
was actually,
consistently
yeah,
touching the hobby, kind of.
yeah, getting like all the steps done. Do you still remember was your I think I'm pretty sure you will still remember this moment where did you find out about like you can keep reptiles and amphibians, like there is this whole world of like exotic animals keeping.
Yeah, like I think the first discovery of that was at very young age, visiting like pet shops, and also some kind of friends and things like that. You hear that snake can be kept, also turtles and
Mm.
things like that, like common species. And then I have a really good pet shop nearby me here. So I started going there for fish, for tropical fish. And then I discovered like the reptiliarium section, and so
Mm.
amphibians, reptiles, and so on. And from that, shows and everything like readers and so on. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
It's
actually
all
a pretty good question, Flo. Like, when did you realize that it is possible to keep animals, like especially reptiles?
yeah,
I
so
had to think about it for myself. What was the situation like for you, Flo?
I think I started when realizing when my dad showed me that his friend had like a little reptile shop, and it was like totally insane for me. I still remember the moment walking into this, it was a small space, but it was like so mind-blowing to see like, oh my God, like all these things that I see like in a book I can basically keep. Do you remember what was your like first reptile that you owned?
The Thai owner, I think, was Trachemis.
Okay.
Yeah, regarding reptiles, but it was first Bombino orientalis. Like regarding
Ah,
herpetoculture, it was first an amphibian.
So
nice. That's cool.
those are pretty much animals that you can keep outside, especially probably in the north of Italy, right?
Yeah, but they was indoor. They,
Okay.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm living in the city, so it's not easy for me to keep them outside.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why.
Yeah.
the same for all of us,
Yeah, it's difficult to figure out, right?
but still manageable, maybe.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
for reptiles, I did it a lot of time,
Mhm.
especially in the summer. But for amphibians, it's a little bit hard because concrete in the city gets really hot, and then you,
Especially in the summertime, right?
yeah, exactly.
If you have like a balcony facing south, it is difficult to provide enough shade to cool them down, kind of. Otherwise, they are just fully in the sun all day, and it's, yeah,
Yeah,
man, the water temperature must just keep rising, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So, you at the end of the journey of your life, kind of, you told us about your bachelor's and master's degree. Did I get it right that you have a master's in ecology?
Ethology,
E
like
e
animal behavior.
Okay, okay, interesting. So, maybe if you can give us a quick introduction about like your master thesis or the biggest project of your university, what was that like? And does it have to do anything with the projects that you are working on today, or is the techno-breeding project, for example, totally independent of that, of the university?
Like probably they are linked because I'm really into technology and animals. So
Mm-hmm.
I always try to merge the two worlds to help the animal world, animal keepers, animal breeders, researchers, and so on with technology as a tool. So like my master that I'm going to finish now, because I'm, as I told you, I'm just finished the thesis that I'm going to submit, and I'm going to finish for the end of the month. Was or is about tracking animals using deep learning in arenas while modifying the environment and looking into the like different behavior that they can show as a proxy for animal welfare or
Mm-hmm.
kind of insights.
Mm-hmm.
The species was under Budisaurus mili,
What is that?
the Australian thick-tailed gecko, like
Ah,
barking gecko, Australian
yep.
barking or thick-tailed.
All
Uh,
right.
like was used just as a model. Like the protocol can be applied for all lizards and even other animals. Uh,
Okay.
and but I also did some research experience abroad with parrots.
Yeah.
So not herpetoculture, but always animals.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So that has been your work or your biggest project at the university, and out of those, like your private project is now growing. Is that right? And
Yeah,
the project that you're representing today, kind of the techno breeding for everybody who sees the video, you've got a shirt that says the name of your project. That is totally independent of the work you're doing for the university for the moment, right?
exactly,
Oh,
exactly.
interesting. And yeah, so maybe Flo, do you have any questions about the previous life kind of or the introduction, or do we want to get more into the side of technology and animals and the techno breeding project? What do you think?
Well, it's, everything is super interesting, but I feel like yeah, I'm really interested like in your techno breeding project, and I think while we're talking about this, there's like so many things popping up. But like, I'm curious how it's actually like how you started with the idea to yeah to build something like this because yeah you somehow you should sit in front of your reptiles and think like oh okay maybe I should do like an app or something like this.
Maybe you can give us a quick pitch of what is
Yeah.
techno breeding, like for everybody who doesn't know about it yet.
Yeah, for sure. So Technobreeding is a startup founded in Turin last year with 3 other mates. So we are 4 like in the team, but we are also working with other people. And like our goal is to help exotic animal keepers from all sectors, so like private breeders, zookeepers, and so on, to manage animals with technology in a more effective way to boost breeding success in captivity and survival. So like the idea is if we can help you manage and collect data, but also analyze automatically data, you can do more for your animals. Like that's the idea. We want to contribute actively to reduce illegal wildlife trade while boosting captive breeding and also reducing avoidable death, like when you cannot see that animal is sick and you will lose them for nothing. That's the idea. But it started with one friend, like in the field, which is a exotic birds keeper breeder, really good breeder. Same age as me, so 24 years old. And I think like 3.5 years ago, we thought about maybe this world need more technology because it's really old-fashioned topic, like animal sometimes with paper sheet and or nothing, and something like that. So we started prototyping sensors for bird keepers. So the idea at the beginning was if we can help the breeding phase for birds that have like a sort of Arab strategy, so they have a lot of eggs, and you can boost like the breeding success. We can help reduce the illegal traffic, illegal pressure, and also animal welfare. But then the project changed a bit. New people entered in, and like now we are engineers, ethologists, and other kind of backgrounds working together. And the idea now is to create a central app to manage information of your animals. And this app can work with sensors to collect automatically data. And like our idea is to give a tool to standardize methodology in this world, but also giving automatic analysis to save time and money, because we think that's the main problem. Like you can have many Excel and sheets or so on, but like the analysis part is the problem.
All right. So, first of all, thank you. It was kind of a lot of information all at once, but I think I hope everybody can follow along so far. Flo, do you have any specific questions? Because I do have one or two.
Yeah, just go for it.
Okay.
Just
Vito, you're speaking about adding sensors kind of into the animal enclosures, right?
Yeah.
To grab data automatically. And you were speaking about some sensors for especially birds, for the bird breeding. So I was wondering, what kind of sensors are you talking about? Is it like heat sensors or weight sensors, like an automatic scale, or how can I imagine these sensors?
Yeah, like the idea is to collect all sort of data and integrate them together, because like some of the background is also data analysis, so we want to look into how to improve welfare through seeing all kind of data.
Mhm.
And like the main idea at the beginning was basic parameters, like you said, temperature, humidity, and so on for birds that nest in box, like in cavities. But then the idea changed a bit, and now we are more focused into scales, yeah, but also other kind of parameter together. But still, we are in the prototype phase, so we are testing them. Not talk a lot in detail about them because we are also patenting them, some of them at least.
Oh, right.
But yeah, like the idea is to mix all sort of data, environmental data and data from heads.
Sounds super cool. Yeah. It's
Well,
like
anything you want to say?
it's like especially I feel like sometimes it's so weird because we are in this rather expensive hobby, let's call it like this, like buying animals, like rarer stuff or plants. But then on the other hand, you are like so behind with like the technology stuff, even with, like with lamps, and when you compare it like to the saltwater hobby, it's like totally day and night, and something like this is definitely missing because uh I myself like have a hard time like tracking everything because maybe I typed something down in my phone or grab a piece of paper and it's gonna get loose or something, and it's not like really cool. When you have it all combined on an app, it's so much easier to like get everything like focused and see what's happening. It's a very nice idea that I really enjoy is coming in the next few month, years. I don't know how far into the process you are. Yeah, but how long is the prototype running so far?
Like we have many kind of prototypes and
Mhm.
sensors, but like the bird main product, like bird linked main product is running since a year, like the prototype. But we still want to test it with many species because like birds are so much
Mhm.
different species, size and behaviors, beaks, and many things. So
Yeah,
it's not easy. Also because when you like put something with birds, it's not like reptiles. Maybe lizards, they just don't care, but especially really like defined intelligent birds, like parrots or toucans or I don't know, can be really destructive. So you really need to be sure that the sensor will not be distracted and the animal will not like risk.
yeah. For how long? I have another question. For how long is it like a good time to run a prototype that you say, okay, now we feel like it's like we have enough data and information that we gonna release it to the public? Is there like a specific amount of years that you want to try it out first, or is it like
Oh, no, no, there isn't. Main problem is that we are whole students or workers now. We are not just doing technobreeding, and so we cannot work full time for the project.
yeah,
And also, we have a sort of partnership to test our prototypes with different kind of animals, and also those kind of partnership need time to be established, to go there to apply the prototypes and study and so on. But then like the prototype is changing and improving. So
yeah,
it's not the same as 1 year ago. And we are also working on it. Yeah. But like the idea is to release the app first.
yeah.
So that will be the main product and it will be for sure for free, at least with a limited amount of animals that you can record. And so that's the main goal now, like release the app as soon as possible.
Mhm.
Hopefully for like the beginning of 2025.
Man. Yeah, okay, so I have already tested out the app. Yeah, because I'm using an Android phone. Flo, you got an iPhone, so it wasn't really possible to install the
I'm out.
prototype.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can say that I think that this whole captive animal management record-taking topic is probably an important one. There it is. Your app, it is not the first app that deals with this topic of recording data of your animals. You can find a lot of apps for recording data of your dog and stuff on the Play Store. But I really appreciate the idea or the mindset that you have about collecting data and then trying to interpret the data to then maybe improve the husbandry or the finally breeding success by figuring out maybe which temperatures or which I don't know, humidity or weight cycles or whatever are the most efficient for breeding. So that way you can for sure make a good impact in the hobby. Yeah, I'm hoping your app can kind of establish, and I'm hoping the people can see the benefit for themselves. So yeah, maybe you can tell us how you I don't know how what kind of feedback you got so far from the people that have tested the app and how you want to make it interesting to the general public to use this app.
Yeah. So those are hard questions and not easy to answer because like the problem of the market is that there are many kind of people behind it and there are many boomers so
Yeah.
people with that really huge experience but they are not really into technology app and mobiles and so on, especially in some with some animals. Like I think that for birds it's more like that than for reptiles or amphibians. So like the target for reptiles is normally younger than the one for birds, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But our idea is to do a really useful app for everybody. So the main goal is to reduce time for everybody to collect data. So to stimulate with a high usability of the app through the smart design of the app to collect data really fast and to give them feedback automatically. Also to stimulate like the data recording because the idea is like, I don't know if you tested it, but because probably you don't have birds now, or I don't know, but like the etching part for bird eggs
Uh-huh.
is like our most complicated tool for the moment
Okay.
because you just put into it data and it helps you with feedbacks about how to manage eggs in incubator, which is a really hard work because many species need really precise parameters. They are like really difficult to manage with paper and there are not always easy like data to understand, and so we think that can be a really useful things for bird breeders. And regarding reptiles and amphibians, there are not at the moment many like automatic feedbacks, but the goal is also to follow the suggestions of our user, because like we want to do something useful for you, for them, for us. So like we want to improve it also little by little, like releasing it and then working on it together.
Yeah, that sounds very nice. Isn't like on a, let's say it released, it's on the market for like 2, 3 years, and like a lot of, for example, there's like data from 10 different people that breed like, let's say, a specific no species. Is it like that you basically can also search for the species and then you get like all the records from the people that bred them? Or is it like, how's it working? Like, can you look also for other informations like from other people's or
Get it. You mean like a little bit, I can imagine a little bit like a social media for reptile breeding.
yeah,
So
like
me as a
basically,
successful breeder, I can publish my data to everybody so they can look it
yeah,
up.
like yeah, for example, like let's say, yeah, let's keep the anoles, like 10 different people having like Anolis bombiceps. Let's just say that. And then they load it up, yeah, species, Anolis bombiceps. These are my parameters, how I keep them, how I bred them. And it's gonna load up. And when you search, for example, for Anolis bombiceps, all the data from the people show up. Is it also like this, or is it like for more for yourself?
Like at the moment is more for yourself, but the idea is also to help the spreading of knowledge.
Yeah.
That's one
Okay.
of the main objectives. So we will also introduce something like send the animal. So you can just share if you, I don't know, trade the animal in some way, give it to a friend or selling it, or I don't know. You can just or exchange it, exchange it. You can just send all the information like a sort of document full of information about him or her and help the other people also understanding how it was kept and so on.
Yeah.
But then like our mission, which is like three main bullet points: improving animal welfare, reducing illegal wildlife trade, and the third is help research and conservation. With the third bullet point, our idea is to collaborate with researchers and like institutions as universities, conservation centers, and so on, and also do things together. So why not in the future share I don't know, care sheet or informations and something like that. But always keeping like your collection private. So
Yeah.
just see your animals. But if
Yeah.
you want to share information, you can. You will.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, that's
thinking, sorry.
no, I just want to say that I think it's very, very cool, especially when you're looking for like a niche kind of animal and you find like typing in that one and then you find a lot of data. It's pretty interesting also. And it's also super helpful to like when you sell an animal, uh, just to give like a sheet here, this is how I bred this animal. You can see like the whole data, the weight and everything, like perfect. It's very, very nice.
Yeah. So I'm thinking if you like, if I am in this app setting up my new animal, then maybe I should also add like all the care parameters that I want to go for. And for the moment, I'm not sure if I already add like my current temperature, my current hotspot temperature, or my current daytime length or something. I think for the moment it's not asked to add it into the app. But I mean, maybe if you like add a new animal or add a new species into your collection inside of the app, maybe it will be cool to have these fields where you can add like average daytime temperature, average nighttime temperature, average humidity, whatever. And then you can have recommendations from the data that is already inside of the app from people who keep the same species already and have successful breeding, you know? And maybe that way I can then enter, okay, medium daytime temperature 24 degrees, but then the app tells me, hey guy, come on, 26 might be better, you know. Some people have some success over there in, I don't know, Russia. So yeah, raise the temperatures. And yeah, maybe that can be cool too, you know, to have this app like as like a guide in your animal care, you know, who gives you notifications like, hey man, I found out some new informations. If you lower your temperatures right now, you might have breeding success next year, you know. Maybe you can even work out something like that, but it might be difficult. So I'm thinking for collecting the data, you might be separating the data for each species, right? So you have like a block of data for each species. Is that how you work?
You guys are describing many things that we want to implement for sure. Yep, like also those kind of automatic feedback and notifications and so on will be implemented for sure. And yeah, like the things of suggestions will be also be present. It's not easy because like you cannot suggest something wrong. So you need to be
Mm.
really sure about something, because also like in care sheets, sometimes you see things like that bird or that reptile cannot, I don't know, eat that fruit, and maybe it's the best fruit to breed them, or the opposite. So, like we need also in the team of Technobreeding, people that can analyze data and give a sort of quality stamp and say, yeah, it's all right, or probably it's wrong, maybe it's something wrong, I don't know, in the data, because like for sure we cannot suggest wrong things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
like,
that's for sure.
that's a difficult part to find out also, like to really go through all the information. And how many people are actually working on this project? Because it seems like a lot of people are involved.
We are at the moment like four in the team, in
Mm.
stable team, and 5 people collaborating.
Yeah, nice.
All from Italy?
Yeah, yeah. At the moment, yeah.
All right.
But like regarding partnerships and people that help us do things, uh,
Mm.
they are from Europe. Like
Yeah, probably
they're not
with
from
a
Spain.
project like that, you can go global. I mean,
Yeah, for
there's
sure, for sure.
institutions all over the world. And as you said, you are also looking to connect to conservation organizations. And I'm thinking it is totally the right step to take. Also because like if you're interested in specific species and you connect with an organization who works with them like in situ, they have the right data, you know. If they send you like temperatures or I don't know, rainfall data, whatever, then you can rely that those data is probably the most valuable one, also about the feeding and stuff, because they can use the locally available fruits and vegetables and so on. So I can only recommend to look out for yeah organizations. And that way you will be sooner or later connected all over the world because yeah, as we know, a lot of our animals come from the tropical parts of the world. Is there any organization that you are already looking out to, looking forward to reach out to? Because I've seen you did like a tour through zoos in Europe, and
Yeah.
maybe you got some infos about some potential partners, or yeah, just tell us about the partnerships you're working on.
Yeah, as you said, we are really interested in conservation centers in situ, mostly because I saw from my experience that like biologists really need some time, easy to use technology to collect data, because many tools that we have in the research world are really old fashioned. So we need something new, and that's part of the idea of Technobreeding also. And regarding the potential partnership that we are establishing, I cannot really say you which zoos or research centers we are speaking to at the moment, because we are still like deciding
Mm.
how to do the partnerships. But we are going to zoos, mostly European, to really good, I don't know how to explain good, but like private breeders with a really nice experience in precise topics. And lastly, research centers and institutions like university or research group that want maybe to use our tools in like daily, and provide us also suggestions and feedbacks and so on.
Okay.
Mm.
So I'm thinking for the more basic species, we already know quite a lot about basic care and how to breed species like I want to say corn snakes and crested geckos and ball pythons and stuff. Probably you are not so much interested in collaborating with, well, I don't know, huge players from those niches, but probably more with uncommon species, right? Where there's like a lack of knowledge, where there's still room for discoveries with the caretaking, right? So is there any animal or any niche of animals that you are specifically looking for your project? Is it mainly focused on birds or everything rare, everything endangered? Um, or what is it about?
Yeah, like we're not really into one taxon in particular because they all need help. So at the moment, our targets are amphibians, reptiles, and birds, as you probably remember from the app. And like for sure, the rare species, but not like rare regarding conservation classification, but regarding the information that we have on that species, because sometimes we just don't have information about so maybe common species or not really threatened species. So for sure, if a breeder, zookeeper, researcher can provide us with useful insights about rare species, that will be appreciated. But like our goal is not to learn more, but is to giving people the chance to learn more from animals, because like I think there is a missing methodology in sometimes. So there are really good breeders that even if they're not like prepared from a scientific point of view, they can analyze the outcomes from the keeping and understand if they are doing something good or bad and improve the management. But there are also many people that just they don't know and they need help to understand what they're doing good or what they're doing bad. So something to manage information, even just to see the information written year after year, can be useful, in my opinion.
Especially if you see like a development of weight of your animal going up and down over the year, maybe a hibernation cycle, maybe some ovulation, maybe some birth or egg laying. Uh, yeah, that can be very helpful. Also, if you see like a long-term decline of the weight, you should start to get worried. Yeah. And if you don't see the data visualized, then it can be, yeah, just difficult to see because if you see your animals like on a day-to-day basis, it's like the same with a little child. Sometimes you don't even realize how much it has grown because you've seen it every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And there are also many problems like in management, because for example birds are hard to monitor regarding weight because they have feathers, so you cannot
Mm.
see the body condition
Mm-hmm.
sample, but at the same time you cannot just always grab them to weigh them or to check
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
At the same time, reptiles, like they are not really hard to weight, but if you don't have something to put the weight in and to have feedbacks, you are just probably not writing the weight all the times,
Yeah.
just check it and see, okay, it's fine. But then in the long term, losing all the informations. So maybe
I'm
the animal will be sick and you don't know why, but
Yeah, you could have known maybe if you seen the data before. So have you ever been to Zoo Zurich in Switzerland?
yeah, yeah. And this summer I was there.
Okay, so you've been to the giant Mazoala Hall, the Madagascar rainforest. It's crazy,
Yeah,
right? Flo and me, we've been there together as well.
Yeah,
nice.
it's so impressive. It's like completely different level of zookeeping. It feels like it's like crazy the amount of space that they have. But I know what you gonna think about, Ben, right? Because of the mouse monkey population.
Right, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the Madagascar greenhouse, they have like these microcebus mouse lemurs, so these tiny primates from Madagascar. and there's a huge population by now. I think the last time they counted them, it was like 150 or something. It's pretty much
Wow.
insane. So once in a year, they're doing like an inventory of like the mouse lemur population in the greenhouse. And from what I've heard, I have not seen it in person, but I've heard some stories about it. They have got like a contraption where there's like a big feeding bowl in the middle, and there's some entrances with microchip readers inside. So each microcebus that goes to the feeding needs to pass through this microchip reader, and therefore it can be counted. And each one who passes through, which is not detected, is then collected to be microchipped, and they do it once in a year. And I'm thinking you could combine something like that with a scale. You could put like a cage with a scale and maybe a food plate on top, and then a tunnel with an entrance with a RFID microchip reader. So if the animal passes through, you have the identification, and then it sits down on the scale to eat, and then it can automatically take the weight. And if you do that on like a permanent basis, you can just like keep it running if you have a system like that. And you can collect the data dozen times in a day if you want. So you can have a perfect graph of the development of the weight over time. It can be very interesting, I'm thinking. Yeah. So that was just something that came to my mind. And oh yeah, I've heard a talk about it was a talk from the Small Mammal Club, which I go to like for meetings like once or twice in a year. And there were some people who build like also like a man, I want to say like a trap device for monitoring field hamsters in Germany. And they also had like the hamsters were microchipped. And so they put this tunnel. It was not a trap, but it was more like a tunnel with some microchips readers inside and stuff. So they can track which hamsters go in and out of the burrows. And so they set up a whole lot of these trackers all over a field. So they were able to build like a map of the moving of the hamsters. And so they could first of all, monitor how far the animals wander around the field. And I want to say like they found out the hamsters only moved about 100 to 200 meters or something, not further. Yeah, from their main burrow. And then they used this data for the next project where they were rewildering hamsters on an open field. And so they knew if they had like a brother and sister, if they put them apart more than 300 meters, for example, they will not reproduce with each other because they do not move so far, you know? And yeah, for collecting the data of that, they also use these microchip readers for the entry of the burrows. And so I was wondering, because for the moment we are speaking about a software that you are developing, but you also spoke about some sensors and stuff. Are you thinking about offering some hardware, or do you want to use some hardware that already exists that can read some data? Did you ever think about it, and or do you want to brainstorm with us about it, or I don't know, how do you feel about it?
Now, like the idea is to mainly produce sensors.
Okay.
So yeah, like from the basic one to the more complex one. But for the moment, like we are still not on the market. So our goal now is to really innovate. So we are not really looking for the new humidity or temperature sensor, but we want to do something different. But as I said, is more like the research. Our research about sensor is more about birds now, because like it's one of my big passion, and also the breeder which I started with is a bird breeder. So like the main project at the beginning was just on birds, and then I said, okay, maybe we can help also other kind of breeders collect data. But yeah, the sensor if you are a startup, like if you are a company, are not an easy thing because the production, the transportation, and there are many things that are not easy. So you need to be really sure before investing in something. Uh, and it's not like doing it for research, because like for research we can do whatever we want basically, because like the components are not really expensive in general at the moment, for IoT and general stuff. But when you need to produce something to sell it, that's a really different thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
So like, for example, like my idea is also to collaborate with researchers to do things like the one that you described. And we already talk with some people from the University of Turin to do sort of nest boxes for birds to study them. And we also did the prototypes. But then you see that like the prototypes for research are normally really expensive in general, and not like well suited for long-term usage. Just I don't know, a season or a year, and they normally get broken. But we can all sell things like that for breeders for sure.
Yeah, okay. Or maybe you can do like a crowdfunding campaign for people who are interested in participating in your prototypes. Maybe you can find a small amount of people who want to support your projects in the early stage or something.
Why not? Like we cannot say no. But for the moment, I think that we need more support from the community. Like we are not really big. We started to talk about the project in the public just since a year, but like in a good way since just a few months. So I think we need to improve like the number of people that follow the project and believe in the potential of the project to do something like crowdfunding.
Yeah, for sure. What was the hardest part since now to developing the app? Were there like some major hiccups where you said like, oh, should we really do that? Or is it like too much that we like wanna do? Or was there ever time like
Like
this?
the main problem is not linked to the project directly, but it's the bureaucracy. So the law, the financial things regarding taxes, regarding everything, organization,
Yeah.
and that's the hardest things for sure for us at least, because when we I don't know, when we script, when we write code, or we create prototypes, yeah, you have problems, but we are always sure that you can fix them uh, like alone, just working on it. But when you need the support of the institution, like the office and so on, that's hard. At least in Italy. I don't know in the other countries.
Yeah, I think it's it's like this in every country. It feels like yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to like stay motivated when you are like on the one hand it's like relatively for you personally easy to build stuff like that, but then there's like this important part where it's like taking super long and it's everything you have to write and stuff like that. It's very hard to stay focused. At least for me, it would be hard to like stay motivated over like such a period of time.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking it depends a lot of the people you are doing the project with. So, how did you get to know your business partners? You got to know them at university or at a bar,
No,
outside on
we
a rave?
with the first co-founder, we were just friend in the animal sector. So we met for animals, and then our friendship goes on, and our like exchange led to creation of Technobreeding project. But then
Okay.
started looking for like more technical people, kind of engineer and so on. So at the beginning, the first one was a friend of a friend from the university of our city, which is Politecnico di Torino. And then it goes like that. So friend of friend, we ask, we send kind of proposals to all our friend or people that we know, asking for for someone that is good in programming or to creating IoT sensor, or I don't know, with a background on this thing or the other thing. And then like that's the mainly method. It's not really standard. just ask and look for them. But we are lucky that we are in Turin, which is I think a good university world in general. So there are many students, there are many people that want to innovate in general. So we are in a good place.
I can imagine that it can be really difficult to find the right people because the people who can work with big data or can code, they are usually so valuable that they can monetize their skills easily.
Yeah.
And what's the main reason for your partners to decide to work for Technobreeding? Are those guys also interested in nature in general or animals specifically? Or why do they choose to work with you?
I think they are more interested in creating something special. So they are not really into animals, but for sure they love nature. They are interested in environmental protection and so on, but as normal people. And regarding the startup, you need the right mind, I think, to do it. As Flo said, you need to stay strong, even if it's not always easy, and keep going. But if you are working for something like which you believe in, your personal project, which like if you are a co-founder, that's the the thing. You are focused, so you keep going. And I think also like many people from that world, really technical backgrounds and so on, if they go straight to big companies, they will see just a small thing always. Like they are not looking for the big picture of the project.
That's true.
If you are going in Google, you will just focusing on a small thing that Google is doing. But if you can go in a small company or startup, you can see the whole picture, and many people love that.
Yeah, it's
that's true.
definitely a huge learning experience to work in a small company or a startup because you're just you get to see so many things and you just naturally have more responsibilities because there are less people responsible to keep everything going.
What I'm actually curious about is I'm always like I think it's always interesting to have like an opinion of people outside of the hobby about stuff that we do. Whether like any questions or like people that are like come in to help you with stuff and are not like into reptile or like exotic animal keeping. Did they have some ideas that you were like, oh damn, I didn't even think about this? Or are they also maybe now interested in animals now that they are working on the data like this?
They are like, for sure, I love to work with people with different backgrounds because it's really inspiring and they help you have new ideas. Maybe it's not always something that they say like we can do that in this way, on the other way, but just sharing ideas and brainstorming together. It's the best thing to innovate in general, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I really like I kind of sometimes value more like opinion of like a person of an outside perspective because like we always have this narrow view on our hobby. When someone from the outside says something, it's sometimes it even triggers me more because then it's like, oh, okay, from the outside world, it looks like this and that. So I think it's really important that you always have an open ear for people that are not like in this whole scene,
Yeah,
for me
because you
at least.
normalize so many things. Like, okay, a snake terrarium, one time the snake length, maybe 1.5 times the snake length, that's appropriate size. And yeah, okay, that's just how we always did it, so it might be okay. To somebody from outside the hobby, maybe that just looks tiny, you know? And yeah, so especially the people who are working with code. I can imagine those people like being confronted with the animal keeping world. That's kind of a contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Like, I think many people from the informatic world, they just need to see something different.
Yeah.
Some of them really love that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I can kind of imagine. And also animal keeping uh goes by a certain logic, you know? The light goes on, the light goes off. Fresh water every now and then, every second day. And then feeding this type of material in this rhythm. And then feeding another type of whatever insects in another rhythm. And then having the cycle over the year and stuff. So it is pretty logical kind of animal keeping. So you can lay out a protocol how to keep an animal. So maybe that speaks to the informatical people. I don't know.
Yeah, that's for sure a good point because, like many time, you just are looking for some sort of guru from the world that can say you the right recipe to breed an animal, but like scientifically, there is a method, and if you apply the method in the right way, normally you have success. But for sure there are many problems because it's not coding, but yeah, like with a standardized methodology you can afford all sort of problem that arise during the keeping, but if you are not thinking about data collection and so on, will
Yeah.
be just an art. It
So
just
Yeah.
like some people are really artists in keeping animals. They just don't track things, and they always do good points. But normally they have a really huge experience, and all of them did many mistakes, as we did.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But those mistakes are not good for animals normally. So we
yeah.
want to
Yeah.
use the mistakes. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So
That's
in the
one.
sorry.
No, okay. No, you can go first.
Yeah, so in the long run, do you imagine techno breeding as like an also like a full animal keeping app that also controls the environment? Like an automation app for controlling the light switches and stuff, like a smart home app at the end of the day? Or is it more like for tracking data?
I really don't know because we need to see like the customer need for first thing. It's the customer need and the customer attitude with the app, and then we can think about the next steps. Our goal are more about like improve the learning through the experience of keeping, so help people to manage more data and maybe discovery, or I don't know, than just turn off the light or turn on the lights.
Mm.
Even because there are many great companies that do that, and they are going for sure to improve the communication of I don't know, tools and app.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah, okay.
maybe we can think about that, but like the problem is that each breeder need different thing.
Yeah.
So if you are a company, you need to look for the like a big group of people with the same needs. You could, I don't know which kind of lives, but for sure they will be different from mines and different from the guys that are listening to us. And the same is for, I don't know, head pad, head cable, or all the things, or food, or supplements, and so on.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
I see
that's
that can
true.
be a challenge, man. I'm always thinking about, having like a smart home app that runs all the terrariums, with all data inside. But I mean, it's difficult, man. Anyways, I have another one or two questions, but Flo, you wanted to ask something earlier.
I just had like something in my head, like I'm not like experienced with bird keepers, but from the outside world, it feels like that a lot of people that are breeding parrots or parakeets or something are always like pretty, they have like a lot of aviaries like all set up the same way, and it's like pretty, it feels more like
In-
standardized and like
Industrialized.
industrialized, but also in a good kind of way, not like as wild as like the reptile scene does. So it looks more organized sometimes. I think they have it more in like they have the thing how they do it, and that's how they gonna do it. Is it true, or is it just like my perspective on them from the outside world?
No, I think you are right. I think one of the things can be that normally bird keepers with a huge collection are older people, uh,
Yeah.
probably because of the cost of animals and also
Mhm.
the lifespan, so the time when they become breedable
Yeah.
with bred to
Also, the
breed.
space requirements, you need some
Exactly.
land to do
So
it.
they normally cost a lot compared to reptiles or amphibians. So probably reptile keepers and or amphibian keepers or even insects, fishes, fish and so on need less money to create a huge collection.
Mhm.
And many people, also me in the past, when you start breeding, you always want more, different things, more different species, more experience, and so on. So it's a normal tendency. And then there are people that can manage that always with the best terrariums, and other people that cannot manage that. So like in my case, I reduced the collection when I discovered that it was not the best for animals. But for birds, I don't know. There are also many bad breeders also for birds
Mm. Yeah.
that just store them because, like for example, parrots are kept since a very long time now by humans, and so many people, I think they just treat them like a machine.
Rabbit.
Yeah, exactly. You just give them seeds, water, and nest, and it's done. Two birds,
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
done.
That's
Uh,
the weird thing about bird keeping, right? The fucking bird cages, like 60 centimeter bird cages where they can barely move around. Why is it so awkward? It is like keeping a goldfish in like a bowl.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's weird, but I feel like maybe it's also the same for us as like reptile people, right? For maybe for the bird keepers, they also feel like it's weird. Why are you keeping like a snake in this small space?
Tub.
Yeah, it's because yeah, it's. I think the whole I'm very aware of like this whole animal keeping stuff. Sometimes I wonder like, okay, I'm basically doing it like for my own enjoyment and because of my ego in the end of the day when we see it as a broad picture. But it also brings me so much joy. But I'm very aware of the fact that like that's why I've always the struggle. I want to give like huge space to the animals. But sometimes I don't even know if it's like uh, it's just in my head, maybe also that I want to give like this massive amount of space because I feel better then. But at the end of the day, it's not really. I don't know if it's like also fine for them if they're like in a half as big of an enclosure because in the end of the day, they are still like in an enclosed environment. So,
Yeah, you're right, but I think like from a as an ethologist, I
mm,
can say that for sure we don't have to like humanize animals. Like we are animal for sure,
yeah,
but they don't have the same needs as us. Like they don't need freedom to be happy or to be healthy. So like the space is not always what they need. If you can provide them with the right management, even if now like limited space,
mm,
uh, they will survive well and also have a good quality of life. And but besides, it's really linked with the species. Like you cannot say a gecko needs something and the other one needs less, because it's really each species and each habitat in the wild, each behavior, each different biology and ethology of the species is hard to generalize, I think.
yeah, for sure.
There are some species they just don't have to be kept in captivity,
Yeah.
because we are not able to provide them with the right things. But there are many others that can survive well, for
Yeah.
sure. Not just survive in the sense of living, but also a good quality of life.
Mm,
It's also
If
a
you,
topic where like the idea about what is okay and what is not might probably change over the years. So looking back, we have maybe kept animals that we are not keeping anymore today. Like as humans, I want to say like whales and dolphins, that's something that is going away more and more. And probably looking into the future in 10 or 20 years, we will not be keeping apes anymore, maybe not the big cats in such a huge amount and stuff. So probably animal keeping in general will, yeah, develop. And yeah, sometimes I'm wondering what it's like for the birds too because always with birds, the flying and stuff, it makes them really require probably a lot more space than reptiles. That's what's so cool about reptiles. At the end of the day, you can kind of feel good about keeping them in an apartment. For most birds, it's not really possible, like excluding some quail or some small birds, maybe. Yeah, so birds, that's a whole nother game, kind of. And also, I feel like there are not so many people who are active inside of the reptile hobby and also doing a good job in the bird world. There are not many people doing both. I kind of met a few, but I feel like it's really separate worlds, right? The bird world and the reptile world.
yeah, I think that because it's also different people sometimes,
Yeah,
like
and
different.
also the way of care is so different. Like the terrarium style and the aviaries indoor and outdoor and stuff, it's so different. Yeah.
it's also much more time consuming.
Yeah.
I believe so. At
Space,
least with
time.
cleaning,
Yeah,
like a
probably.
parrot makes much more of a mess than a snake.
And the
But
feeding and stuff.
yeah, I'm pretty curious. With your study, did something change with your animal care, or maybe what do you even have at the moment at home? What are you keeping, or did you? Doesn't you keep anything, or?
Yeah, at the moment I live just a couple of Cacrix defensor, so
Hmm.
tailed
Mm.
iguana, which is the
What is
smallest.
that?
Yeah,
What is that?
Cacrix defensor.
the you know them, Ben. This was like the one
The
that
spiny tail iguana, small, red, and light blue on the
you
All right,
the
all
one
right, all
that we
right.
are iguana agama that we had here to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Uh, Not 100% to be honest.
Yeah, when you see the picture, you definitely know them. Yeah, they're very cool.
Say the name
Awesome.
again. I will. I will check them up on Google.
Cacrix.
and then defensor.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So what's so special about them?
They are really special animals for me because they were a dream when I was younger. And then I was able to have a couple from a breeder in Italy. They are captive bred and they are male and female. They are one of my favorite species in general because they are colorful. They are iguanas. They have a special behavior with this spiny tail that close the nests or like the hidings in nature and in captivity. And I don't know, they just are beautiful for me. And they are really underknown in nature because they are really difficult to track, to see and so on compared to other species of the same genus. Like now they are cacrix, but before they were Tenosaura. So you know,
Okay. So
many
do
Tenosaura that you can just cross in the street in
Yeah.
South America, but Cactus defensor are not like that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
do those come from the Caribbeans or from South America, really, from the Amazon? Sorry.
They are from Mexico.
Ah,
From
okay. Interesting. So it might be like a dream for you to go over there to find them in the natural habitat. Did you ever think about it?
yeah, for sure.
Take some
Yeah.
pictures over there, in situ shots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're so cool. They're also like a perfect size lizard, right? They're not getting huge, but they're also don't like super small. And I don't know if are yours like super shy or are they like maybe also feeding from behind or
They are not fat from the hand. They are normally shy. I think in general they are really shy species, but like we have a sort of network with other breeders to collect data because me with a breeder from Germany, a girl who is working really well with the species, we decided to collect data from breeders because this species is not well represented in zoos. Like at the moment, I think there is just a zoo in UK, but they have like offsite, not showing the species. Because they are small, they are not interesting for like visitors for sure. So we don't have many information about them, but they are well, like not really common, but they are reproduced in captivity well from many different breeders, from at least from Europe and also from USA for sure, maybe also Korea and Japan. And I think they are just beautiful. So I want to focus on them and all the other animals. I sold them or I gave them to friends and so on because like I moved to Tenerife for 4 months till the end of June to do research with parrots, and so I
Oh, at the Loro Park.
necessity. Yeah, I was in the lower park, but like I was in the Max Planck Institute lab that work in the lower part. Like they have, I don't know if you were there, but they have an area where they have parrots to test about cognitive studies and other kind of studies in the zoo. So visitor can see the experiments and they can learn from screens and from many things directly while visiting the zoo.
Oh, and so that's what you've been working on now.
Yeah, like I finished now. I'm still collaborating with them for some research, but I'm back in Italy and I'm not planning to go there soon.
Okay.
Okay. The director of a zoo really nearby to my place in Zoo Karlsruhe, he was the director of the Loro Park in Tenerife years ago. His name is Matthias Reinschmidt. Have you ever
I know
heard about him?
the name.
He's a parrot guy.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, he
Maybe
was
we
so.
should connect you with him.
Yeah, it could be really interesting.
Yeah, he was like, but when was it been? Like 2 months ago,
Yeah, I
right?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we were there with a friend, and he does photographs of animals, and we photographed hyacinth macaw from him, and he was like so in love with this parrot. It was really
Yeah, he
nice to
has
see.
these two hand-raised macaw, I want to say babies, but they are full grown, but they are super tame. In his director's office, there's the macaw cage built up to his window, so he can let them inside of his office if he wants to. And yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, so they have a pretty good bird collection over there in Karlsruhe too, also in the zoo in Heidelberg. Um, so if do you want to be connected to zoos?
Sorry?
So do you want to be like connected or hooked up with contacts? If
Yeah,
I connect you to a zoo like in my area, which is doing good job with birds, also Wilhelma, man. Wilhelma is also doing great stuff with birds.
Hmm.
But w would you like to speak to them?
yeah, for sure. We are always open to talk to new people.
I mean, they are obviously already doing animal management in their way, so I'm not sure how
Yeah,
much benefit it is for them to do a tracking in another app, but I'm not sure what's your plan about it. So maybe I can just give you one or two contacts.
thank you. Will be much appreciated.
All right.
Yeah, it's not always just to do our idea of collaboration is not just always to use our app, for example, but if we can talk about our projects and found potential common paths, we can maybe cross the paths and do things together
Yeah, of
uh,
course.
to share benefits for sure. And we are always curious, at least me for sure, to meet new people in the field and learn new things. So why not?
Yeah, super
Okay.
cool.
Dope. Are you
But I'm
planning
actually,
to go to any like startup events to pitch your ideas or to have like to go to like festivals or exhibitions to pitch or to showcase your project? Is that anything you want to do or that you have already done? Yeah, do you see any value in that?
Yeah, for sure. I see value. Like exchange ideas is always good in the startup world and innovation world. We just finished the Tech Week in Turin, which was
Hmm.
a nice event that is like each year in our city in collaboration with the universities, but also with investors and many sponsors. And there were, for example, there was Sam Altman, but also other invited people that are really inspiring us. And you can meet a lot of like investor or founders or every kind of people from the startup world. We are also planning other like shows or those kind of events, but not, I think, in 2024, maybe next year.
Okay, interesting. Maybe you should also go to Terroristica Hamm or some big reptile shows just to get your name out there because so many people will cross your stand and probably will you can find some people who want to work with your app.
Yeah, that can be for sure interesting, but like, I don't think we are going to do that before the release of the app.
hmm.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Uh, yeah, and also in Italy we have a lot of good shows.
Verona Reptile Show, right?
Verona, yeah, and also other good, even if smaller, but good reptile shows.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, yeah, in the future, for sure, we are planning it. We are also bird shows, a really huge event in November. We are probably going there. It's in Modena, and it's regarding
Where
birds.
where is that?
Modena, it's like in near Bologna.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I think it's one of the biggest bird fair in Europe.
Man, okay.
It's really
Interesting.
Yeah, that's super
impressive.
interesting. Are they mostly like parakeets and parrots and stuff like that, or are they like super fancy birds as well? Because I really like how are they called again, Ben?
Rails,
Bitterns and
for
stuff like that.
example.
I really think they are super
The
interesting.
insectivorous birds, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah, there are any sort of bird, basically. There is a huge section for canary and goldfinches and those kind of like relatively common species. But then there are also parrots, frugivores, insectivores, and
Waterfowl?
I think like the problem in Europe in general, but also Italy especially, is the flu, like the bird flu. So we're
Yeah.
not allowed to bring waterfall in many events, especially like the biggest one. So no, like last year they were not there, and I think also this year they will not.
Okay. But maybe like tokos or turacos
Yeah,
or toucans, stuff like
yeah,
that you can find on expos like that.
yeah.
Really, man. Yeah, that's crazy.
it's so cool. It's funny because like for us it's super special, and maybe for the bird people it's like just like another expo like for us.
I think it's like I'm not a fan of bird shows.
Mm,
I think like the best way, but also reptile shows. I think they are really good moment to meet people and talk and learn and so on. But for the animals, they are for sure not the best. Uh,
yeah.
it's always better if you can to go to the breeder or to just organize the pickup in a safe way for the animal. And for birds, that's especially true.
Yeah.
The stress is hard to manage in those conditions. So I'm not a fan of it, but it's also a good moment to exchange opinion and experience. And so, yeah.
Just last week we did a roundtable recording for our podcast, which is not published yet, but we spoke about exactly this topic about reptile fairs. Is it good? Is it bad?
Yeah. It's I think it's actually out, Ben.
Yeah, it's published. I realized,
Yeah.
but I was hoping nobody will say anything.
It's published. Yeah, but it's like a whole big topic. But I'm in general curious about like the animal behavior study and stuff like that. How did it change your opinion on animal care, or did something change? And maybe what's your opinion on some species that are out there that you say, it's nothing for keeping at home? Can you maybe tell us about this? Or
Yeah, like I think I didn't change my opinion a lot because I was already thinking that like animal keeping is good if done in the proper way. I just had it in my mindset the scientific point of view, and I think I'm more ready to understand what is really good for animals, and like not just watching them but evaluating it in a quantitative way. But apart from it, I think that like the academic preparation is not something magic.
mm,
And you need also like a lot of experience, practical experience. So I'm really curious to meet people that are not from the academic world, but they have a strong experience working with animals directly, because they normally show an higher I don't know, understanding of the species and of the needs of animals.
yeah,
But at the same time, many researchers have really good tools, like also just scientific method and so on to work for something bigger. I don't know, like maybe the species, not just the specimen. So yeah, I think the best way is to mix practical and I don't know, like studying and trying.
Yeah, for sure. But do you think there are some animals in the hobby that you think it's just not for keeping at home? Like, for example, big monitor lizards or stuff like this?
Marine iguanas.
Yeah.
I think like if you can provide the right requirements, why not? Like we can say one species not I don't know potentially kept in captivity and the other one yes, just because we say I don't know, leopard geckos need few things to try,
Yeah.
and I don't know, a really cool rare tree monitor need more. Like I don't think it's the right approach. I think we just need to give the best to every species. So like in the end, the answer is you need to understand what you can provide to the animal before taking it, and not going just for the species, but understand before what you can provide, because maybe you are like as us in a in the city, you don't have a lot of space. So as I did, I went more into the reptile hobby, because even if I love birds, I don't have the space to keep them. So yeah, it depends.
Yeah, for sure. For me, it was always when I was younger. So I always wanted like the bigger stuff. And then at some point I read like a book and there was like, yeah, this water dragon needs like 150 by 60 by 80. And I was like, ah, I have 140 by 50 by 60. Ah, I should be
That's
fine.
probably okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and that's a mindset that totally changed. And that's why I'm like, I don't know. I feel sometimes also like super critical when it comes to sizes from enclosures, but maybe it's also like I'm not judging the people, but like also when I walk through zoos, I have like this. I oftentimes don't feel like walking through a zoo. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a nice enclosure. At least for me, what it feels like. Maybe you can, especially for like bigger mammals, like they always look like not satisfied and happy. It for my untrained eyes. Is it like true or am I totally wrong? Or what's your opinion maybe on like
It can
the
always be better, right? And I think especially you are somebody who has a very critical eye. You know, you're always somebody who wants to have this one project that is perfectly amazing, flawless kind of. And yeah, when you're walking along huge collections or zoos or stuff, you can always find things that are not perfect. That's for sure. So I'm not surprised that you are very critical about a lot of setups. Um,
yeah, but
yeah,
like in general, I don't sometimes understand, for example, with big cats, that like a lot of zoos only provide like such a limited space for such a big
yeah.
sometimes I don't get like why it has like some pig much more space than a tiger. For me, sometimes it makes no sense, but maybe there's a logic behind it.
Yeah, oh man, I think that's a whole another topic. At
Yeah,
the
it
end of the
could
day,
be.
it probably comes down to finances because that's what the zoos mostly struggle with, right? To have the money to build cool stuff. And then it's the space, and sometimes the animals are even kept in historical buildings, so you're not even allowed to change the structure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so man,
Yeah, like also the problem is when you have a tiger, you need like concrete walls at least X meters and so on. When you have a pig, you can just build a
Yeah,
fence.
yeah,
It's done. So like as Ben said, like for sure money are the problem. But yeah, in general I think there are many good solutions in many
yeah,
zoos. Uh, I don't know. I just visited zoos in mainly Europe, and I think there are many good solutions. I think like there are more good maybe in mammals than reptiles sometimes. I
Mhm.
don't know, maybe in
Yeah.
Germany or like in the other countries, more into the northern Europe, they are better with cold-blooded vertebrates.
Mm.
But in Italy, for example, the situation I don't think it's really good, and they still need a lot to improve the management skills and setups and so on, because you can see really old methods sometimes and
Mhm.
not really good situation in my opinion. But yeah, I think it will change for sure, because people now want to see animals in another way than in the past. So
Yeah.
people are the force to change behaviors, like for zoos and for owners or managers. If people are not coming to your zoo, you will change the setup for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very, very curious. There's like somebody told me there's a zoo in Denmark. They have like this big like greenhouse for a jaguar, and I really want to visit that because
It's a
I think I
walk-in
ne
greenhouse.
I don't know, but it has like a huge amount of space, like with big water features and stuff like that.
Okay,
Like
amazing,
maybe
man.
like something like a hippo or something has. Uh, because for that I'm very curious because I've never seen like a big cat like
In
really
a
acting,
greenhouse, cool enclosure.
yeah, acting kind and
Naturally.
normal.
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah, like being provided with like a greenhouse, like a jaguar, which kind of makes sense to display an animal like this in a greenhouse.
Yeah,
But
kind of, right? Imagine like a wild cat like yours in a Masuala hall in Zurich, really
like a
running
group of
wild,
fossils.
catching the microcebus from the trees.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
but
you're
yeah.
right with the cold-blooded animals. Sometimes when when I was younger, it's always like, oh, I want to have like a zoo level enclosure, and sometimes I feel like zoos should have like the private keepers kind of enclosure because it's so crazy when you look at some enclosures, you think like, man, you are a zoo, you are professionals, and it still looks like that. It's actually pretty crazy to think about that like
That's
the
why
private hand is like so much stronger when it comes to stuff like that. Okay, yeah, it's like a lot of legislation. Also, oh, I want to change a plant. Okay, I have to ask this, and this. If it's like okay, change something, I understand that, but still,
that's why you, Flo, you need to offer a habitat construction service. Vito, can I pitch you a business idea?
Yeah.
My business idea to execute in partnership with Flo is to offer a greenhouse consulting service for zoos, for public enclosures, to offer them to do like a rework of the enclosures, like a new interior design, new planting, which is true to the habitat of the animals, then maybe adding some other species for cohabitation, like invertebrates or maybe geckos and stuff. And yeah, that's basically the idea.
but
Offering the service for rebuilding the habitats in zoos, like the big enclosures.
quick thing about that, we actually never talked about it privately. Ben just said it like the second time on the podcast, so I don't even know about the whole business idea.
Hey, come on, I told you about it.
Yeah, but still, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I told you about it, but maybe you forgot.
Yeah, but I think it's something needed, because many times you see not bad situation, but if you are a bit into the hobby or passionate by wildlife and plants and so on, you see really strange cohabitation of species. And also there is no really interest of people about the microfauna. So even include them in the setups, maybe can educate people more about the importance of the biodiversity, not just the big vertebrates, big
Yeah, the
vertebrates.
circle of nutrients, the whole tree of life, kind of.
Exactly. But like the other thing that I want to say regarding the management of big mammals, for example, felines and big cats and so on, it's also that we are, I think, more prone to humanize mammals than other animals,
Mhm.
like as a species. That's empathy, which is good, but the thing is, lions sleep like 20 hours a day, and that's the thing. That's the biology of the species. And if they have, I don't know, cattle close to them, they don't run. They just catch the prey, eat, and sleep. That's
Yeah.
that's the species. But regarding other
Like a
animals, like
Pac-Man frog, kind of.
yeah, for sure. I don't want to say that lion are uh, like they need or they want to be kept in a small environment. For sure,
Yeah.
they need a lot of things, but space it's not the only thing. So you have to monitor many parameters to understand if the species is really living in the best way possible. And I think it's not just money, it's not just knowledge, it's many things together. Also many times I think the exposition of animals in the best way for visitors is not the best way for breeding purposes.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And
Yeah.
so that's also a trade-off that you need to understand. To like, I'm fan of zoos, so I think that zoos are a really good player in wildlife conservation because in the first, like the most important thing they do, I think, is educate people, visitors, because yeah, there are people that say you can see the lion in a documentary, but you are not involved. Like you are not really look in the eyes, the animal. You are not learning in the like in a really strong way. You're just and if you don't understand the species, if you cannot see them in like for real, you are not going to protect them or to fight for their protection. So I think that's the most important things that zoo do in this field, and for that they need to show animals in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So your business idea, I think, is good for that. But for example, breeding purposes and so on. So, for example, the bird breeders that have all the standardized aviaries. I think that's the best way to keep and to breed birds. So why not? And also the terrariums, like the not small but not huge terrariums for many species are good to breed them. If not, you are not going to breed them. For example, I don't know the size, but it's like medium-sized terrarium for my catrix, and to manage the eggs when they lay, it's really hard, even if it is small, because they have really high temperatures, and so eggs dry really fast. And it's not easy. So I think there are two ways of keeping animals. One is in a good way, but to exhibit, and the other is a good way to breed them.
Yeah, true. And it's also like it depends also on you can have like offer like a big setup, but if the animal is not stimulated, it's also has not a good welfare. I think
Yeah,
it's something that I also learned like only over the last few months, really over the last few years, like a little bit, but still it's like it's almost more important that the animal is like very well stimulated. Also, like for example, with our house cats, it's like when they are not stimulated, they are just laying around and stuff like that. But if you
Yeah.
do something with them, give them a task, maybe give them a box with leaflet and put some treats in there, they have to really figure things out and use their head. They are much more like, yeah, happy. And I think that's something that should be also more integrated into the animal keeping. What I also should do more when I have like lizards, because I think it's like not only providing like
Enrichment.
a nice enclosure, but also enrichment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really true.
Techno feeding.
I saw it, for example, in my thesis, because the idea was to change the setup and see how the animal use the space, but they basically use what they need, as we probably can imagine. So they go from the nest to the football and maybe to the water bowl sometime, but they just do one part if you are not putting like sort of, I don't know, rocks or things in between to stimulate the behavior of looking for food or looking for mates or looking for whatever. So I think like the stimulus is really important. And also, there are many things that we can do as keepers, also providing different kind of foods, different size of pieces, different size of crickets or insects, like the standard rule that say the cricket need to be like the size of the head of the animal or something like that. It's not really true. Like for sure, you cannot give a huge cockroach to a small anolis, but if you are able to vary also the size of the prey, it's a really huge stimulus for them because they have to change the behavior accordingly to different targets.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's totally true.
That's for sure. That's a whole nother rabbit hole that Flo can take a deep dive into, like the feeder animals. But
Yeah,
maybe
but
not
like in
today.
general, no, but just in general, like the whole topic of like how to really stimulate your animal. Like it's also something that I'm not really like good at, or even like don't know as much about what you actually can also provide that also would stimulate your animal.
Yeah, the thing is, you like new things are not always the best for some animals because I'm going to change the setup just providing a new plant for my crayfish, for example. They will hide for 2 weeks and not eat. So like you need also to understand the biology of the species before planning an enrichment or a variation in the setup to stimulate them.
Yeah.
But there are many things that you can do, I think. Also, like temperature variation, not just daily, but also day after day, because in many natural condition, you don't have always the same temperatures. So why we're always keeping animals like with that minimum temperature, that maximum temperature, which is, yeah, for sure, it's practical for us, but they don't have a really stimulus maybe to change the moving pattern to I don't know, sunbathe or like basking.
That's where we can kind of make the connection to the first topic that we had in our meeting today. It's the outdoor keeping, because that's what you get kind of when you're keeping animals outdoors, even if it's just on a balcony, the different daylight intensity, different heat temperatures, different humidity and rain and mist and whatever. So yeah, at the end of the day, maybe we realize that the best way of keeping animals, if possible, is outdoors. I'm more and more thinking about it, to be honest. It's just better at the end of the day. If you can limit the risks of the escaping and the wild, the prey animals and the diseases and stuff, overheating, overwatering, that's some risks. But if you can find ways to manage that, and I'm thinking outdoor keeping is just of the future for a lot of animals.
Yeah, it's definitely nice, especially also like with the aspect when you have like a small collection and it's manageable to put them outside, but also for like for saving energy, saving like your own money on like the electric bill and also like for the environment at the end of the day, right? When you only need some lights for half a year, it's much better than like using
Yeah.
electricity the whole year. Yeah, for sure.
If you have like a smart system that controls everything, that also has like the weather forecast and everything inside, can give you warnings about, oh man, tomorrow there's a storm coming, better get your animals inside, stuff like that. I think that can be the future too. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I think what I really like would like to provide much more for animals is like airflow because it's so especially like for some cryptic species they if you give them like a proper fan in the enclosure like they're really doing their cryptic movements and really
Mm.
feel like
Shaking with the
yeah like
wind, kind of.
chameleons or
Yeah.
trigger nose or something like really to trigger the natural behavior and also like
Yeah.
it's natural to there's always some kind of air movement when you are
Yeah.
outside. It's actually pretty crazy that it's not like a staple in an enclosure, like air movement.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that little air movement when you have like the chimney effect in an enclosure, it's
That's
yeah,
basically
okay,
all
it's
they get, the animals. Yeah.
yeah, but you can dive so deep. I mean, that's why we also do the podcast, right? Because you can basically talk forever about different topics.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think
The Yeah, or the whole hobby. Like that's why we do it, right? Because you always want to get down to the bottom and with each
Yeah.
layer we open a new layer, new layer, new
And
layer. And
that's
that's
also the cool thing about software at the end of the day, because software is there is no in software. Basically, everything is possible. So you can have the wildest ideas about developing an app that can do this and that. And at the end of the day, if you have somebody on hand who knows how to execute the stuff, it is possible. That's the cool thing about software in my eyes. So if you can execute whatever idea you have, it can be realized. So
yeah, it's a really cool thing of like coding or writing programs because you have a really magic tool in the end,
yeah.
and you can do basically whatever you think, and that's really interesting, challenging but interesting.
So the
yeah.
people who are interested in techno breeding, the people who are maybe listening to the podcast right now, how can they get access to your app? How can they get to know about more about the project? Maybe tell us about where we can find you on Instagram. Maybe you, I don't know, do you have a website or any other information?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. For sure, they can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also visit our website. That will change in the next weeks, but yeah, it will be for sure more interesting than now. But I think like the more active account at the moment is Instagram. So yeah, and
Hmm.
if they want share ideas or to stay updated with the app release date, they can fill out our form in bio.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah,
All
and
right.
we really cannot wait to release the app and see what they think about it.
Okay.
So
So for the
yeah,
moment, there is no prototype testing for people who are interested. It's about like putting your name on a waiting list and then be informed when the app is out.
yeah, exactly. Because we are
All
testing
right.
the app now, but just with some people that we know,
Like
and
us.
because we need to also focus on specific subjects. And so, for example, when we need to test the bird part, we are going to release a version just for them or for the other thing. And so, yeah, for the moment there is not a demo for everyone.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting, yeah. And
Pretty dope.
yeah, we're almost like at over 2 hours, right? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy how time flies. But do you want actually to talk, have something else to talk about, or is it like, because I think it was a pretty nice episode. I feel like we have to get you on again.
Like in a year from now.
Guys,
Yeah, for real. It was really nice. I really enjoyed it.
thank you.
So
Also for me, it was a pleasure. I think we can talk a lot on many things, but
yeah.
now it's late, so probably the next time. But yeah, there is many things that we can talk about in the future, like wildlife photography or
Yeah.
parrot conservation and many other things I'm into, and we can share also opinions about those topics.
Yeah, for sure. Because like it's really interesting when you have like a guest like you on that has like so many layers to peel also off. It's like
And
you
also
can
comes from a different niche
topics.
kind
Yeah.
of, not
Yeah.
always the same reptile topics.
Yeah. Yeah, super cool. I really enjoyed it. It's a
Yeah.
nice episode.
Okay, man, Vito, very cool. Thanks for taking your time. I was really looking forward to getting to know you better. So, yeah, thanks for being with us, and I'm sure we can do another episode in the future when you are finally published and the people can download your app right away.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, perfect. All righty, guys.
Thank
Follow
you
us
so
on
much.
Instagram. Don't forget to like and subscribe, 5-star reviews if you liked it, and reach out whenever you want. Yeah.
Thank
Wish
you
you a
for
nice-
everybody who followed along until the end. You are a gangster. All right. Should we stop the
See you.
recording now?
Yeah.
All right.